Hi, and welcome to another Book Talk with Tracy. Recently, I've been doing some interviews with other authors, and I thought I would share them on Book Talk. We've been talking about a new anthology that's coming out, and I had the opportunity and privilege to interview. I'm excited today to be talking to Lorrie Morales. She lives in High River. Is it High River? Alberta,
Yes.
which is cool. And we're talking today about a new anthology coming out by Inscribed Press. It's called Creativity and Chaos: Artistic Endeavors for Trying Times. Sounds like a very timely anthology
Yes.
for the times we live in, but also just, the whole notion of creativity and chaos sometimes coming together. So you have a piece in the creative nonfiction section called The Power
Mhm.
of Prayer. Hmm.
That's right.
Excited
Hmm.
to hear about that. So can you tell us a little bit more about your piece? And if there are spoilers, you don't have to do that, but whatever you want to say about.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I recently it seems to me a lot of people have been referring to this time of actually, like you say, chaos. Yet there's creativity, and I think since the pandemic, many people started finding a lot of I guess avenues to Um, I guess show their creativity because there were quiet times and there were, times of not being able to go out and actually be able to reflect and so on. And so my piece, I'm a writer and I love short stories, but I also like to weave a little bit of my life or other people's lives into my fiction pieces. So I would almost call this semi-fiction. It's based on some things that happened in life, but I've added a few things. And my mother was always a prayer warrior, and she's passed that on to my sisters and myself. And there have been a number of occasions in my life where the power of prayer has been so evident. And so I got reflecting on that. So my piece has a few things about the past and the present woven together, but it also incorporates the piece about creativity, how God's just gifted us with the ability to see things differently. And yeah, that's where I'm coming from. It's a little bit about a situation that happened in our family, and again, the power of prayer and what is still continuing to be that power within our lives. So, mhm.
Mm. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because I did some helping back several months ago when we first started getting submissions, and I have a feeling I may have read yours already, but I'm not 100% sure because I haven't seen the finished manuscript yet.
Okay, yeah,
But
hmm,
yeah. I know,
yeah,
like you said, with creative nonfiction, it's based usually in a real story, but then you write it as a story, so there's invented dialogue or the like to make it more story-like
yes,
rather than just a
hmm,
retelling like a newspaper article or something. So
yeah, hmm,
yeah,
right. Did you want me to explain a little bit more about it and
yeah,
a little more
please. I think
detail?
that'd be
Okay.
good. Yeah, please
Yeah,
do.
so it's a story. My brother has had a lot of difficulties and challenges in his life from various choices that he's made. And this particular time, he was probably at the lowest of lows and attempted suicide. And so it's a bit of that story, what happened during that time with our family. And the reason I refer to that is because we were in a car accident when I was 6, and my mother was pregnant with my brother, who is the one that has had all the troubles. And it's a miracle he survived, A, and B, it's a miracle he's had continual miracles in his life. And I believe much of it is attributed to, of course, God keeping him alive for reasons, but certainly because of my mother's prayers. And so that's when I talk about the power of prayer in my life has been evident. So I have, my mother passing that on to us. Yeah, I just see it evident everywhere. And so anyway, so to get ahead with the story, my brother has been living with me for a number of years. So I feel like I'm my brother's keeper in many ways, but just that I can continue that prayer for him
Yeah.
so that he's in a safe place and so on. And during COVID, of course, you need those avenues to, just an outlet, I guess, or whatever. So I got into a number of things. I got into painting. I took some classes. I got into writing. I got into junk journals. I got into all sorts of different creative things that really helped, I think. And, just because, life is challenging, right? Life is good, but it also has its challenges. So how do we deal with that? And prayer is awesome, but there are also other avenues, I guess, as I keep mentioning,
Yeah.
um, you know, to be able to counter that. Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
really cool because I've, of course, over the course of doing these interviews, that's one of the themes that's been coming up is how,
Oh,
during COVID, people realize their need for some kind of an outlet. I've talked to people who do junk journaling, who do painting, who do journaling, it's almost like the whole thing you
yes.
mentioned there, the people
Yeah.
were cooking and gardening and all those things.
Yes.
Um,
Finding all these amazing things. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess it speaks to the fact that, creativity is such a wonderful outlet. It's very therapeutic and it helps us to deal with our own issues, whatever they may be. But then as an extension, that often then speaks to other people, like your writing
Yes.
or your paintings or whatever, are also impacting other people. So it's kind of a
Yes.
double blessing, I guess you could say.
Yep. Absolutely.
Another thing that sort of popped out at me is when you were talking is I think that a lot of people will be able to relate to your story. And now that you've described it, I do recall reading it before.
Yes.
One of the things that really struck me about it, well, a couple things, but first of all, that it's kind of written in a split time. So, like you said, you kind of connect the fact that your mom was in a car accident when she was pregnant with him, and then the situation that was happening during that dark time, and that's really kind of, I would say, trendy. Good for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Lots of split time, but it gives context to the, and we see sort of the broader um story and how God, how he's present throughout all the things
Yes.
that happen in a person's life.
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yes, and I am so looking forward to the many stories and so on. It's just incredible. I have a friend who writes she's a Christian as well, but angel stories, people's encounters
Yeah.
and it's quite phenomenal, just listening, like you say, story to me is paramount, I that is the key really. And through story, I find through words or pictures or whatever, it really does resound with other people and resonate. Hmm. Yeah.
That is true. And another thing I think in particular about your story, um, you know, I think a lot of people have similar, whether it be drug addiction
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
suicide or, a lot of these dark kind of things happening. And not everyone feels um free to, share, and that's okay. Like not everybody needs to
Yep.
share. all of it.
Yep.
But on the
Yeah,
other,
that's right.
yeah, it's good to know, that other people are going through those kinds of things and that people, can relate.
Yeah.
Um,
And that there is hope. I think that's part of it too. There's so much tragedy and death and so on that this is, I keep telling my brother, you're alive. God saved you for a reason. And there's so much more to his story that I didn't even include, but
yeah.
God's hand was in it. So you just got to keep saying there's a purpose for your life. So yeah, and just
Never
giving
giving up,
people,
like never giving
yeah,
up. That's really
yeah,
powerful too. Um,
that's right.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's part of the prayer thing, I guess, that, just never giving up, and I'm sure we all have, I've got loved ones the same, and sometimes you just
Yes.
like, oh,
Hmm. Yeah.
really? Is this ever going to change?
Well,
But you never.
yeah, and I was just speaking with a friend yesterday. We were talking. She said, "Oh, I've been praying about this," and I said, "Listen, I said every prayer is in the bowl of incense in heaven, and it might not be answered for 20 years or 10 years. It could be answered tomorrow, but
Yeah.
you have to realize." that these prayers have been sent up and they're not going, they're there. God hears them. And so don't get, like you say, don't give up. Don't give up on life. Don't give up on the prayers and so on. Yeah.
Exactly. That's yeah, and that's so powerful. So, let me just ask you. So, you've written this piece for the anthology. What have you done other writing that you've been able to share or
Yes.
things
Yeah,
published?
I actually, yeah, I've written my first book was nonfiction. We Can Do This, Adult Children and Aging Parents Planning for Success.
Oh,
And I
cool.
wrote that short as my parents were aging and passing. There were lots of questions I had and no real answers. So it's a resource book basically with my story and others woven into it. And then I wrote a children's book, and I had a young friend who was an artist, and ended up getting her to collaborate. She's in art school now. She was just in grade 9, but she did all the illustrations. And then I did a young adult fiction called Scars, which is was in correlation to the anniversary of The Outsiders with S.E. Hinton.
Yeah.
And I had another artist friend, so she did some of the graphics and the illustrations in that book. And then I write for magazines and I do articles. I've been published in a few anthologies, and I've written. There was a grant from the Canadian government. A friend asked if I would do just during COVID, 35 interviews with seniors. They had to be over 65, and it was a one-time publication they did in French and English.
Cool.
And I had to interview them, and the articles could only be 500 words. And they had to tell me a little bit about their life, which is, I mean, the people ranged from 65 to 92 and tell a little bit about their life. And then they published it. It's called Seniors.
Cool.
If you just type in Seniors Magazine or whatever. Yeah, so just those kind of things. And I do a lot of editing and tutoring, and I love writing. I journal. I have a blog on my website.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm active in a writers group and a number of book clubs, reading. I love reading. So yeah, so lots of little pieces every here and there. And I love the variety. So
That
my next thing will be a memoir that I just took a course on. So I'll see where that goes. So mhm,
okay. Well, yeah, I can tell that is a lot of variety. I mean, from children's books
yeah,
to memoirs to self-help, basically, and everything in
yes,
between. So where do
yes,
people find you? Like, or do you have a website
I
or?
do. Yeah, it's just called LorrieMorales.com,
Okay.
Lorrie, and then Morales.com.
Right
Yeah,
on, right on. Yeah, and it's good that you spelled Lori because I find that as well with my name Tracy. I get it spelled every which way.
that's right.
So it's good.
Yes.
You gotta spell it out.
hmm
Lorrie
That's right.
Morales, correct?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
hmm
But that would be great. It's good for people to know because then they can, connect with any
Yes.
resources or other things that you're doing. Um,
Yes. Yeah,
beyond
that's right.
psychology. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So thank you so much for
You're
taking
welcome.
time out, and it's really wonderful, and we're looking forward to that anthology. And maybe we'll talk again.
Me too. Yeah, sounds great. Have a great day. Thanks.
Thanks again for joining me on Book Talk with Tracy. As always, I invite you over to my website, which is tracykraus.com. No E in Tracy, two S's in Kraus, where you can find all of my books and plays, as well as other recommendations. Bye for now.